He's a very special figure, a genius, unequivocally.
When we sat in the studio, it was like being in another world of quiet and peace.
On Spain's North Atlantic coast, the smell of salt permeates the air. The cobbled streets of Malaga are worn with history. As one of the oldest cities in the world, it is fitting to be the birthplace of one, Pablo Picasso, an artist who has forever shaken the globe. His art revolutionized the industry, securing him as a figurehead in the 20th century. He fractured the world around him, toyed with the fabric of reality in order to become one of the most prolific artists to date. Pablo Picasso was born on the 25th of October to father Don José Ruiz Blasco, nicknamed Pepe, and his mother Maria Picasso y López. Unlike many great artists of the past, the young Picasso was actually encouraged to embrace artistry. His father was an artist and teacher, and upon seeing his son's innate talent for drawing, decided to teach Picasso everything he knew. Picasso sought every opportunity he could to draw and paint, even when he attended school. Picasso despised education and was adamant to draw, even sketching a pigeon which was allowed in the room to keep the little Malagasy boy occupied. His work was exceptional for a boy so young. He began by drawing animals, such as donkeys and dogs, completing the images with a single line, beginning at the head and ending at the tail. This was the time of post-impressionism, thanks to artists such as Vincent van Gogh, Cézanne, Gauguin. The art world had shifted to a more unique perspective, to capture reality with elements of personal interpretation. Bullfighting continues to be a popular event with the Spanish culture. Picasso would often paint the spectacles whilst attending with his father. This led to his very first known painting, El Picador. This beautiful piece was made when Picasso was only 8 years old. His talents shined through his attention to detail, creating contrast with the striking yellow costume of the picador. In 1892, Picasso began studying at the School of Fine Arts in La Coruña, where his father Don José taught. The family transferred there following the closure of the Municipal Museum, where Pepe also worked as a curator. Picasso worked on refining his skills. He created an illustrated magazine, Azul y Blanco, for his family and friends. Sadly, Pablo's sister Conchita passed away due to diphtheria at the age of 7. This traumatic event was heartbreaking for the family, as they expected a serum to be hurried over from Paris. Picasso himself made a vow that he would never paint again, so that his sister may be spared. Sadly, this was not to be. Conchita died on January 10, 1895, and Picasso's vow was broken, something which he would secretly carry within his art. In 1896, the 15-year-old Picasso shared his first studio with Manuel Palares, a fellow painter. Picasso revealed his first large-scale oil painting at the third exhibition of Fine Arts and Industry in Barcelona. The First Communion was a stunning depiction of a Catholic girl kneeling before an altar. Picasso's father, Pepe, modeled for the male figure in the artwork, granting a new dimension to the piece. Though the young artist had little interest in religious devotion, his work contained many iconographic scenes. Picasso was inspired by the artists of old to fuel his creative growth. This image marked Picasso's symbolic transition from his youth to adulthood. Picasso's work was now in the public domain, and the young, talented artist had made a huge statement. In 1897, Picasso was admitted into the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Madrid. On return to Barcelona, he produced his next wonder, Science and Charity. Picasso was making a huge statement during the realism artistic movement, capturing a window of everyday life. In 1899, Picasso attended a cafe named Els Quatre Gats to meet a circle of avant-garde artists. Picasso was introduced to Carles Casagemas, a Spanish painter and poet. The two became incredibly close friends. Pablo had even painted portraits of Casagemas on their travels throughout Spain. In the art world, there was one place everyone wanted their work to be featured: the bustling French capital, Paris. With little knowledge of the language or bustling climate of this new terrain, the painter keenly leapt in. In 1900, Picasso visited Paris with Carl. The two settled in a vacant studio whilst attending exhibitions, such as the Universelle, which raked in over 32 million visitors, all pining to see the next influx of creative talent. During this time, both Picasso and Carles became infatuated with the women whom resided in the City of Love. Picasso met a woman named Bertha Weil, the first and only dealer to promote avant-garde artists. Picasso formed a working relationship with Weil, and she accepted to deal his work. Carles, on the other hand, met a woman named Laure Gargallo, known as Germaine. Carles immediately fell in love, but it was not to be. Germaine had spurned his affections, and in doing so caused Carles to reach a terrible depression. His mood swings became frequent to the degree in which he was a danger to Germaine herself. On the 17th of February, 1901, in a Paris cafe, Carles put a gun to his temple and ended his own life in attendance of his friends. Picasso, who had returned to Barcelona, was heartstruck from the news of his friend's death. Though he didn't yet realize, this event had transpired into one of Picasso's greatest, yet terrible inspirations. Following the death of his friend, Pablo Picasso found himself in one of his most depressive, emotionally torn states. This was known as the Blue Period, aptly named not only due to the emotional state of Picasso, but the new style of paintings, completely bathed in blue. His new imagery illustrated his darker, more tortured side. It was an aspect of this artist nobody had seen before. There was a degree of emotional poverty, a bleak, radical outlook on the world. His brush strokes were fluid, emphasizing his raw emotion, generating an aesthetic which remains emotionally resonating to the eye. His work, though visually bleak, still depicted the resilience of the human spirit, from downtrodden beggars to brothel workers. This was a time of anti-commercialism. Pablo did not sell many paintings to the public, as this particular aesthetic was seen as self-deprecating and rudimentary.
It's a portrait of a friend of Picasso, Ángel Fernández de Soto, and it's a memento of a moment of bohème lived between Barcelona and Paris, together by the two artists. There's never been a better period to present his work on the market. It's a seminal work, it's a masterpiece, and we have a masterpiece-driven market at the moment. So we expect interest globally from all our clients internationally.
The Old Guitarist is one of Pablo Picasso's most famous works. It depicts a blind, emaciated old man hunched over his guitar, sitting in a desolate environment. The continued use of blue sets a melodramatic tone for the painting, conveying a sense of sadness, despair, and isolation, reflecting the emotional state of the subject alongside the artist himself during this period of his life. The composition is simple yet powerful, with the old guitarist occupying much of the canvas. His elongated, thin figure and hunched posture suggest physical frailty and emotional burden. The way he cradles the guitar in his arms emphasizes his connection to music, perhaps as a source of solace or escape from his harsh reality. This painting has been interpreted as a symbol of human suffering and endurance, particularly in the face of poverty and adversity. His blindness could symbolize a lack of hope or insight into a better future. The guitar, a recurring motif in Picasso's work, may represent the arts as a form of spiritual refuge or as a means of expression for the marginalized. The Blue period coincided with a personal and artistic transition, as well as broader social and political upheaval in Europe. The destitute figure of the old guitarist can be seen as a commentary on the plight of the poor, who are often overlooked or forgotten by society. While Picasso's style is unmistakably modern, the old guitarist also shows the influence of earlier masters such as El Greco, particularly in the elongated forms and expressive use of color. This fusion of traditional and avant-garde elements is characteristic of Picasso's eclectic approach to art. The painting's emotive power lies in its ability to evoke empathy and introspection in the viewer. The old guitarist's world-weary expression and the stark simplicity of the composition invite contemplation of the human condition and the universal themes of suffering, resilience, and the redemptive power of art. Another of Picasso's art dealers, Pedro Manach, was appalled by the Blue period and refused to collaborate. Picasso was now experiencing extreme financial difficulty. He lived a rough bohemian lifestyle and now faced complete poverty. His last remaining option was to return to his family. He did in 1903, completely ashamed and unable to quantify his emotions. Though he didn't realize it at the time, the pain Picasso endured during his Blue period would be the flame that ignited Picasso's adaptiveness. Many could, with time, paint what Picasso could in his youth. However, the ability to embed emotion into art is what truly separated the artist from his peers. This was just the beginning of a great legacy. It took time for Picasso to come to terms with his sorrows. However, with the support of his father, Pablo returned to Paris to meet with some fellow artists, with the hopes that his style and financial circumstances might change for the better. His desire was to expand and fundamentally break the rules of what had been traditionally depicted. It was in the Bateau Lavoie studio in Montmartre where Picasso met André Salmon, Guillaume Apollinaire, and Fernande Olivier. Olivier was said to be Picasso's first true love. She modeled for the artist, and soon warmth returned to the previously blue paintings. Picasso painted new subjects, from circus performers, harlequins, and many other diverse characters. This would be known as Picasso's Rose period.
One of the greatest collections of fantastic art ever assembled goes on display. Dadaism, Surrealism, and Rayographs. Some are priced above $2,000.
The whole surrealism that he got, this is very much part of his work, and it's part of his work because he made it his own, and he created within that particular expression a sense of humor and wickedness. I mean, they're quite voluptuous, to say the least, one or two, very provocative, one or two of the pieces, but they are unique to him.
Both in paint and spirit, Picasso was optimistic. In 1905, Picasso visited the Van Gogh and Seurat retrospective at the Salon of Independence and the Ingres retrospective at the Salon d'Automne. It was here that Picasso met Gertrude and Leo Stein. Gertrude was a prolific novelist and poet, having close relations with many artists and authors, such as Ernest Hemingway. Picasso wanted to cultivate a healthy relationship with the wealthy Steins, and so he chose to offer an additional painting to their growing collection at their own salon. Gertrude accepted, and the portrait had begun. Gertrude Stein took Picasso's breath away. She was homosexual and dressed in the masculine fashion of the day. Her face proved to be a task Picasso had a great deal of trouble with. He could not fully encapsulate Gertrude's form in the ways he had done before. Gertrude sat for hours in a broken armchair in her home, number 27 Rue de Fleurus. Picasso faced her on a kitchen stool, easel set. After some time of relentless painting, he left her portrait unfinished and travelled to Spain with Fernand Olivier. On the 11th of May 1906, they ventured to Gossol, a small village northwest of Comarca Berguedà, in Catalonia. He eventually came across a statue of the Virgin and Child of Gossol. Its archaic minimalism served as the core inspiration for Gertrude's mask-like face, alongside ethnographic motifs inspired by Iberian sculptures Picasso had observed at the Louvre. At first, Gertrude was confused. The enigmatic portrait didn't traditionally represent her likeness, but she was accepting once Picasso had explained the style was connotative of her ambitions, to become, in his words, the high priestess of modern art.
4000 BC, Egypt. 1928, Picasso. When we look beyond formal similarities, however, we can feel a difference. Sometimes these ancient examples of modern-looking art were meant simply as decoration.
In 1907, Picasso used his newfound funding to build his own collection. He had acquired 2 Iberian statues. The purchase of these statues were thanks to his newfound fascination with African art, leading to a short movement within Cubism. He merged both styles as a homage to traditional Egyptian and Iberian paintings and sculptures. He didn't know at the time that such statues were stolen from the Louvre. Such purchase drew suspicions to Picasso for the theft on the Mona Lisa in 1911. The painter aptly returned the statues anonymously to avoid a conspiracy. The newfound style depicted Gertrude's celebration of innovation, as she had also done with Henri Matisse. It is said by many that Picasso's work for Gertrude Stein was the foundation for his future project, Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, his first artwork cast in bronze. Perhaps one of his most known works during this period, a beautiful piece depicting 5 nude Spanish prostitutes in a brothel. Similarly to Stein's portrait, the workers' faces adopted a geometric appearance. Picasso, alongside Georges Braque, a famed French painter, had co-founded the Cubism movement, alongside revolutionizing collage, which Picasso would also eventually adopt. Braque learned from his father, who was a house painter. He learned to imitate marbled surfaces and wood grain. Picasso would be inspired by this and utilize such techniques in his own work.
£500,000 worth of pictures, the collection of a lifetime. It includes artists such as Toulouse-Lautrec, Renoir, Picasso, Matisse, and Utrillo. But the most important item of the whole collection is this one, and here's the reason why. 2 Picassos for rather more than the price of one. Mr. Strauss, did the gallery know when it acquired this painting from Mr. Morm that it had 2 Picassos?
Well, we knew when it arrived that there was something on the back, but we didn't know how important, how brilliant a picture it was until we removed the backing of the frame and saw that it was a picture painted in oil 4 years earlier, in 1901.
It is a magnificent picture.
Ah, yes, it's undoubtedly an important picture, though perhaps not as beautiful as the death of Harlequin on the other side.
Somerset Maugham is selling his collection because of his fear of art thieves on the Riviera. Here in London, Sotheby's are taking no chances.
Just off Fifth Avenue, on a site long occupied by the old-fashioned town dwellings of the Rockefeller family, stands the spanking new home of a nationally important institution, the New York Museum of Modern Art. No dusty storehouse for old masters, this museum is an up-to-date showroom for art in our time. Painting and sculpture, architecture and still photography.
So if we start off all of those years you were collecting, and then I think maybe 10, 12 years in, you met him, didn't you? Can you tell me that story and the significance of the story?
Well, I think we started initially in the 50s, 54, something like this. But in 1963, we went as usual during the summer holidays with the children and so on. And we walked into the Pottery at the Gallery, and it was full of people, which was very unusual. And I realized that he was there because it was his private show of his most recent work. And Madame Ramier, who owned the gallery, brought him over to meet us. Well, I mean, if you had said this is Beethoven or Shakespeare or whatever, I wouldn't have been at all surprised. I was absolutely mesmerized. I mean, he was much smaller than I thought he'd be, quite tubby, but small. And he beamed all the time, and the great humor in his ceramics and so on was very much part of his persona, it seemed to me. And he took something out of his white coat, which was a little medallion like this, and with a ribbon he pinned it round Sheila's neck, and said that he much preferred to give presents to women than he did to men. And I accepted that fact. But Madame Rami had sort of tuned him up because he knew ultimately before we went that it was my birthday, and he brought me a photograph which he signed to me and gave to me. And I said, he asked me my name, and he said, I know your work, I know you, Richard Attenborough is very difficult. And I said, yes, it is. And I spelled it out to him, and he said, c'est suffit. And I said, no, monsieur, I'm sorry, there's an H on the end. So if you see the photograph, you'll see that the H is a capital letter at the end.
The new movement had departed from the conventional Western artistry and swayed towards capturing life in a new avant-garde manner, through geometric shapes and facets. Alongside the art being fragmented and multidimensional, it also paved the way for displaying philosophical connotations within the paint. Artists could now represent the concept of time in a new manner. Cubism was so significant that it had crossed into other disciplines. Gertrude Stein herself derived principles from Cubism in her literary work, which merged into the Dada movement. A new age of counterculture had begun.
But he was enchanting. And the children just ogle-eyed, you know.
Could you feel something very special around him?
Oh yes, no question. He was I suppose, in his 80s. He was a bit frail, and he leant on his son's shoulder. But he was, I mean, it really was. He's like a star actor, you know. He came on the stage and you couldn't see anybody else. It was like seeing Olivier doing something wonderful. But what I loved about him, and what I loved about his work in this particular area, which he did, in the last 20 years of his life, more perhaps, is the humor. I mean, people say, oh, it's very simple and elementary. They're idiots, they're pompous, they're stupid. His humor, his sense of humor and joy and happiness, and an immediate rapport with children. My two daughters, and Michael, through my son, just thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. These sort of humor pieces of art, if you want to call it that, which it is, of course, and a very particular form of his art.
Picasso bought his first painting in 1908, a portrait of a woman made in 1895 by French artist Henri Rousseau. Picasso, delighted with his purchase, celebrated the works of Henri by organizing a banquet at the Bateau Lavoir. In attendance was Guillaume Apollinaire, Marie Laurencin, André Salmon, Georges Braque, and Gertrude Stein. Picasso did what any great artist should and developed upon preconceived ideas, to be inspired by the works of old and transform it into his own voice.
A Coles to Newcastle art story, which brings modern and impressionist paintings from Swiss private collections and museums to Paris. Masterpieces by Dufy, Chagall, Volatin, as well as Picasso, Manet, Van Gogh, Cézanne, and Gauguin are included. Some 200 paintings and 50 sculptures are borrowed by the French government. Recent art frauds and record-breaking high prices for masterworks have kept all kinds of art in the world new spotlight. The show is a hit in the most critical art city on the globe.
Picasso remained close with Fernande Olivier. In 1909, the two temporarily settled in a Paris studio, and together they visited Horta, a neighborhood in Barcelona. Picasso had visited before when he was sick. Now rejuvenated, he sought to return for both artistic inspiration and family ties to the city. Picasso developed upon his craft by attending countless exhibitions across the globe. From Berlin to New York, his name was now prevalent amongst the international market.
Why is it such a splendid piece of work, and why has it got such a broad valuation?
Well, it's a very powerful and expressive work by Picasso. He painted it in 1955. The subject is Jacqueline, and there's a lot of influences on Picasso at this time. He's looking particularly at Delacroix, at Les Femmes d'Alger. He's looking at Ingres, two artists from the Old Master period who provided endless source of fascination for Picasso throughout his life. But he's also looking at Matisse as well. Picasso and Matisse were these great sparring partners of the 20th century. Matisse had just died, and Picasso felt that it left a hole in terms of competition and art historical discussion for him. So this picture is very much about Jacqueline. It's very much a paean to Jacqueline, his last and longest lasting muse of his life, who he would marry about 5 years after this picture was painted. But it's also a tribute to some of the great masters of the past, and also a tribute to his relationship with Matisse. Well, Jacqueline was an incredibly powerful and strong character. I think you had to be with Picasso for that length of time.
Alongside his artistic talents, the painter was also multilingual and had a profound ability to communicate with a multitude of cultures. It was apparent that Picasso was attempting to strip away the bonds which kept him and many artists tied to tradition. He wanted to unlearn, to seek his own interpretation. Audiences saw this convention-breaking nature quickly in Picasso's sculpture work, since he wasn't taught the form in an academic sense. The artist remained in Paris, moving studio on occasion to suit his needs. He continued to develop on Cubism, working alongside Braque on analytic Cubism, to synthetic, effectively incorporating real-world materials into their artwork to create depth in its messaging. The Guitar series are some notable works from the period.
The city of Chicago gets its own Picasso in a king-size piece of sculpture 5 stories high at the Civic Center Plaza. But not everyone likes it. Pickets call it the Colossal Boo-Boo, among other things. It weighs 163 tons and cost $300,000 to construct. The official unveiling triggers an assortment of comments, some praising it, others condemning it. They range from sophisticated and genteel to just a big homely thing. Even the hippies stare. Untitled, the Chicago Picasso resembles a woman's head in profile. The crowd starts tossing more than just opinions, as everyone agrees whatever it is, Chicago's got it.
On the 3rd of May 1913, Picasso's greatest inspiration, his father, Pepe, passed away. Picasso's response to his father's death was to delve deeper into his art, pushing boundaries and exploring new techniques and styles. His father's passing seemed to catalyze a period of intense creativity and innovation in his work. The artist's personal life also underwent changes. He became involved with different romantic partners and moved through various social circles in Europe, all of which influenced his work. It was his relentless pursuit of truth and authenticity that continues to inspire artists today. His demeanor was noted to be incredibly self-assured, often referring to himself as a genius, which to his respect he was. He had a larger-than-life persona and a reputation for being somewhat egotistical, which might have led to perceptions of grandiosity. Such pride derived from his innate belief that he was indeed born to leave a lasting impact on the world.
We all think we know Picasso, but a new exhibition at Tate Britain is inviting us to think again and to re-examine his relationship with Britain.
Actually, early on, Britain was supposed to have been an influence on him in growing up. His father was a great Anglophile and was known as El Inglés because of his passion for all things English. And Picasso told his biographer Roland Penrose that he was on his way to London in 1900 when he stopped off in Paris and never carried on and finished the journey. And the reason was partly his admiration for British painting.
The exhibition also examines the impact of Picasso's later influence on British artists.
Picasso kind of shows how much more is really looking at that Renaissance classical tradition and then distorting it and abstracting it.
There are about a dozen works by Picasso, including the most important, a portrait of Serge Liffard, executed by Picasso in 1960, estimated at 300 to 500,000 francs.
From 1916 to 1923, Picasso collaborated with the Ballet Russes, a renowned ballet company founded by Sergei Diaghilev. One of his most notable collaborations with the company was for the ballet Parade, which premiered in 1917. Picasso was responsible for the costume and set design for Parade, which was composed by Eric Satie, with choreography by Leonid Massine. This collaboration marked an important intersection of visual art, music, and dance, showcasing Picasso's innovative approach to stage design and his influence on avant-garde performance art. During his work with the company, Picasso met Olga Koklova, a Russian ballet dancer. The two formed a strong relationship and became husband and wife just a year later.
This office in central London was the studio where Picasso worked on his designs for the Ballet Russes. And although collaborating with visual artists was part of the philosophy behind the company, Picasso was by far the highest profile artist to become involved. And exploring the possibilities of working in other art forms could be one of his most important areas of influence.
I think before it was very separate. You had specialists in art, you had specialists in music, you had specialists in dance. And it only improves when all three of those come together. And when you have people composing for ballet, for example, before it wasn't, there was music and we danced to it. And I think these things only make the art form, let's call it the whole art form, even better.
Picasso remained in Paris during World War I. Being a foreign national, he was exempt from conscription. He and many other artists used the climate to fuel their work. Picasso formed relationships with figures such as Guillaume Apollinaire, Jean Cocteau, and Sergei Diaghilev, who were influential in the cultural milieu of Paris during the war years. Picasso continued his efforts in portraiture, working with Marie-Thérèse Walter, a Parisian model. In 1930, Picasso, now 48 years old, bought a private estate. He established a sculpture workshop in the Château de Bois-Geloup. During his time at Bois-Geloup, Picasso explored various artistic endeavors, including painting, drawing, sculpture, and ceramics. The tranquil surroundings of the estate provided him with the solitude and inspiration he needed to produce a significant body of work. The painter seemed to desire constant innovation, teetering between various styles.
Picasso may have chronicled the struggles of the early part of the 20th century, but his works and message of peace is no less pertinent today.
Neoclassicism became prevalent once more in his projects. It was significantly separate from his Cubism style due to the stricter line work and focus on precise human anatomy. He took a great deal of interest in Greek mythology, often depicting the Minotaur. Many believe the image of the Minotaur was representative of mankind, the duality of viciousness as seen in the head of the bull, and tenderness in the human torso. Many believe the bull was also a reference to Picasso's early days of painting bullfighting. It was seen as a nod to the past, but marked a significant point in Picasso's career. He truly became a master of styles. Picasso had later discovered the Romanesque paintings in the Catalan Art Museum. Romanesque art played a crucial role in shaping his artistic vision, and soon political undertones started to appear in his work. 1935 was a moment of clarity for the now 53-year-old artist. He put painting aside and began to write poetry. He also chose to separate from his spouse at the time, Olga, who remained with their son, Pablo Picasso. Picasso was a known womanizer, having cheated on most of the lovers in his life. It is greatly argued as to whether Picasso celebrated his peers in a positive manner or simply wanting to bleed them for his artistic benefits, using their figures as a means to an end. It was known that many of his close relations would commonly refer to him as God, and on other occasions, the devil.
There may be little things that have been shown, but not as a whole. This is a really complete presentation. It's eroticism. It's this rather lively period of my grandfather's life, which is not so well known to the public. My grandfather was a bulimic and excessive, and I think that's where we find him.
We know Picasso, the great lady eater, all the women, all the muses he loved. We know that each woman in his life enabled him to imagine, to exercise his imagination and to come up with all his series. Picasso is first and foremost a draftsman to draw a woman's body without looking at it, without a model.
It really is a magical few moments to spend looking at this genius's work.
It's called Les Femmes d'Alger. He painted it in 1955, and it is simply the single most important work by Picasso remaining in private hands. Picasso is fascinated with Les Femmes d'Alger of Delacroix. Matisse always has been as well. Matisse dies, and Picasso, over a period of 2 months, starts this Herculean project of Les Femmes d'Alger, 80 studies on paper, 14 studies in oil, with and without color, looking only at form and color, looking at changing the persons around, the figurants from the Delacroix initial painting. And he finally arrives at the total resolution of that project, which is the painting behind me. It's really, really a phenomenally important painting. It's estimated at around $140 million, which in itself is already the most expensive work of art ever sold at auction.
I mean, it's one of the great Picassos, period. And it's one of the last great Picassos which has been in private hands. In terms of Picasso's quality, at the absolutely top end. and therefore, naturally, it's enormously important. And it's also, it's the culmination, it's the end of a series of 15 paintings that he did, and it's a large painting as well. So in all those dimensions, it's an extremely important piece. When a major work of art by a major artist comes up, there's sufficient global interest and the various economies are still strong enough to mean that they're pushed to price levels which we haven't seen before. This is a masterpiece. I mean, it really is a masterpiece. So I think it will, undoubtedly, it'll make a very substantial price. And yes, will it break records? I think it's perfectly possible that it'll break records.
The conventional view, I have to admit, was that poor old Picasso, he'd fallen off in those years. Here was this old man obsessed with girls and sex and near pornographic subjects sometimes. What we've tried to do, I think, in this exhibition is to show that he didn't fall off. It's a different Picasso. Maybe it's not quite as great a Picasso as the Cubist Picasso or Surrealist Picasso, but he's this extraordinary protean figure, painter, sculptor, draftsman, printmaker.
I think late Picasso is more a medical case than an art historical or critical case.
Well, it's simply an old man not able to paint anymore.
He's able to paint, but he's using paint for therapeutic purposes. The pictures are full of tricks and mannerisms. They depend entirely on references to other people's paintings and to his own earlier pictures.
In her biography, Picasso's granddaughter, Marina, stated, "No one in my family was able to escape the stranglehold of his genius." He wrote hundreds of poems throughout his life, often incorporating surrealist and experimental techniques. Some of his poems were even published in literary journals and anthologies. Following the death of Picasso's mother, Maria, in 1938, his attention was shattered thanks to the incoming threat of the Second World War. Picasso's decision to stay in Paris during this tumultuous period was a source of controversy and debate. Being an outspoken artist who promoted liberty, he was under surveillance from the Nazis. Though he was being watched, the artist continued to resist alongside his fellow Parisians, signing partitions against fascism and oppression, and taking part in secret resistance gatherings who were opposed to the Nazi atrocities. During World War II, Picasso's famous anti-war masterpiece, Guernica, was kept hidden in a Parisian apartment to protect it from being confiscated or destroyed by the Nazis. The painting was eventually unveiled to the public after the war ended.
Probably the most famous image in 20th century art, Picasso's Guernica, last shown at the Whitechapel Art Gallery in 1939 to alert the world to the brutalities of fascism. Picasso was responding in his own visceral way to the horrors of war, flailing bulls and horses and people. He never visited Guernica itself, the Basque town obliterated by German bombers in the Spanish Civil War. This is a tapestry version, borrowed for a year from the United Nations, not the original painting. But its presence still seems just as political on the eve of the G20 summit.
Guernica is striking not only for its subject matter, but also for its monumental size, measuring 3.49 meters tall and 7.76 meters wide. The painting is rendered in a stark monochromatic palette of black, white, and greys, which enhances its dramatic impact and evokes the feel of newspaper photographs, contemporary accounts of the bombing, and perhaps film reels of the era. This choice of color, or the absence of it, might also symbolize the reduction of life to mere shadows during such catastrophic events. Guernica is dense with symbols. At the center of the canvas, a gored horse falls in agony, often interpreted as a symbol of the people of Spain themselves. Beneath the horse lies a dismembered soldier, his broken sword nearby symbolizing the defeat and the fallen, broken spirit of the people. Initially displayed at the Spanish Pavilion of the 1937 World's Fair in Paris, it became a touring exhibition to raise awareness and funds for Spanish war relief. The painting's stark depiction of suffering and chaos makes it an eternal reminder of the tragedies of war, influencing many artists and becoming a universal symbol of protest against military aggression. Into his later years, he continued to display the state of all things, from windows into the human condition to the state of the world. He fell in love once again, marrying Jacqueline Roquet in Valuris, shortly before developing a unique freestanding sculpture, The Woman with Outstretched Arms. This monochromatic sculpture was a playful addition to many black and white works Picasso had developed since 1904. The art piece was inspired by his childhood, as Picasso would often cut pieces of paper and shape them into animals for his sisters to enjoy. This reference to his childhood was adored by many. The pieces were built from sheet metal Picasso had acquired from a scrap shop not far from his home in southern France. This was one of 120 figures he created, most of which featured nude females, with some animals such as owls, bulls, and monkeys. Pablo Picasso produced around 13,500 paintings in his impressive 78-year career. Many of his works depicted the artist's emotions during the time of their creation, often encapsulating his feelings during the socio-political conflict, at times capturing his loneliness and depression, in other instances his joy and spurs of imagination. His last painting was aptly named Self-Portrait Facing Death. His means of creating work in his later years was somewhat minimalist. It wasn't a step backwards, however. The artist had become innately aware of what he needed to do to tell a story without complex requirements. It was as both a testament to his childhood works and an amalgamation of everything he had explored in his vast career. The picture showed Picasso facing his death head-on.
This self-portrait in pencil was drawn when he was 91. It's like a death mask. Picasso, for so long defiant of death, finally seems to acknowledge that he, too, was terrifyingly mortal. The show of late Picasso at the Tate offers a careful selection from the last 20 years of his life, from 1953 to 73. The bulk of it is work by a man in his 80s. In his dotage, Picasso basked in a celebrity usually reserved for film stars. If I spit, he said, they'll take it, frame it, and sell it as great art.
Picasso died at the Mas Notre-Dame de Vie in Mougins on the 8th of April 1978.
I do think that artists in the 20th and 21st century have wanted to do a great deal more. Picasso himself was never stuck doing just one thing. He didn't just do paintings, let's face it, with all those constructions, going into ceramics, you name it, he did it. And I think there is that sort of sense of artists seizing opportunities. There are a great deal more opportunities to work on.
The exhibition exploring Picasso's relationship with British artists opens at Tate Britain tomorrow. It travels to the Scottish National Gallery of Modern Art in Edinburgh in August.
The work of Pablo Picasso is a testament to all, whether it be aspiring artists or those who wish to look inwards at their turbulent human nature. Paintings are only as powerful as those who create them, and Picasso, who had lived through such remarkable events, used such experience to remain alive in his body of work, work which remains prevalent to this day.